starting with William Herschel, a world-famous astronomer from the late 1700s to the early 1800s, believed in a possibility of the planet Mars being inhabited by intelligent life. In 1819, the director of the Vienna Observatory came up with the idea of torching vast areas on Earth's surface arranged in a geometrical pattern to attract the attention of any existing Martians. Another idea floating around at the time was to dig wide trenches in the Sahara Desert in order to provide any existing Martians to be able to read a mathematical code made within these trenches that could be miles long in the Sahara Desert. The climax of ideas came in the 1870s by Charles Cros, a Frenchman, who came up with the idea of constructing a large glass lens which would be able to focus the sun's light into a beam and burn the Martian desert sands and write words in the sand to communicate with the Martians. In 1877, Mars came close to the Earth like it does so every 2 years. An Italian astronomer by the name of Giovanni Virginio Schiaparelli observed Mars at the Brera Observatory in Milan. He was looking to making a more accurate and up-to-date surface map of Mars. In his telescope, he saw what looked like an arranged pattern of crisscrossing lines across the surface of the planet. At first, Schiaparelli thought the lines were natural surface geology in play, where water from the polar caps of Mars were transported to the northern, southern, and equatorial regions of the planet. Later on, he believed in the possibility that the lines were artificially made, canals that transported water to the needed areas on the surface of Mars for drinking, irrigation, etc., by an advanced civilization of Martians. He called these crisscrossing lines canali, in the Italian language, of course. In England and America, this word was interpreted as canals, and the canals on Mars mania within the mindset of the population at the time had begun. What became the central figure in the Canals on Mars story was an American astronomer named Percival Lowell. Percival Lowell was well off when it came to having money. He came from a rich family and held a diplomatic position for a while in the Far East. Making the decision to follow his true passion of astronomy, he built an observatory in Flagstaff, Arizona, on Mars Hill in 1894, placing it among the oldest observatories in the United States, and was designated a National Historic Landmark in 1965. In 2011, the observatory was named one of the world's 100 most important places by Time magazine. Lowell relentlessly observed the planet Mars at his observatory year after year, seeing lots of canals on the surface of Mars, like Schiaparelli did. Schiaparelli stopped observing Mars in 1892 because of his failing eyesight. When Percival Lowell passed away in 1916 due to stress, the belief of canals on Mars made by intelligent beings passed away with him. By the 1920s, it was pretty much a firm belief within the professional and general public circles that Mars was uninhabited based on being too thin of an atmosphere and too cold of a surface temperature that existed there. Belief in the possibility of there being microbial life of some sort, of very primitive forms of life, like lichens, was a possibility in the minds of many. Not until the launch of the Mariner space probes and the Viking space probes to observe and study Mars was the whole matter finally cleared up completely. Almost completely. But why was canals on Mars seen to begin with the advent of better telescopes being produced for scientists at the time? We now know that most likely what was going on was that in the eyepiece of Schiaparelli and Lowell's telescopes, they were reflecting back the capillaries in the observer's eyes, along with seeing dots and blemishes with light and dark areas on the surface of Mars, made the eyes of the astronomers naturally connect these features into linear features. For example, here we see an area on Mars that was taken from the map makings of the Mariner and Viking space probes. With Lowell's canal network, what he thought he saw in the same area superimposed on the space probe map. We can see no correlation of the two whatsoever. There was once canals on Mars, but only in the minds of humans at one point in time. On some positive points, the rocket scientist Robert H. Goddard, inventor of the first liquid fuel rocket, who went to one of Percival Lowell's lectures of canals and intelligent life on Mars, was so moved by the lecture that he decided to build a rocket that would someday take humans to Mars. Because of Goddard, we have rockets today to take us into space. The late and great Carl Sagan once said in his Cosmos episodes, Blues for a Red Planet, that if there are any Martians on Mars, it will be us from Earth to have come to colonize the planet. And because of this very television episode in 1980, it started a new fervor for exploring the planet Mars in the 1990s, with the planet not being seriously explored since 1976 after the Viking missions. By observing Mars over the centuries, we have come to the thought that there might be life there. When we realized there was none that we imagined, we found at the same time that on its surface, it really does look like the Earth, more than any other celestial body in our solar system. That look of Earth-like features on Mars, and still the possibility of finding some sort of life deep within the planet's surface, is what pushes us to want to explore the planet and try to colonize the planet at some point in the future.